Enter the X-Men, an X-Men adventure published by Random House. The whole country was swept up in a wave of anti-mutant hysteria. Even Jubilee's foster father had come to fear her mutant powers. While Jubilee's foster parents argued,
"How could you have registered her with the Mutant Control Agency?"
Let's just hope the neighbors never find out our beautiful Jubilee's a mutant.
Jubilee was upstairs listening. Was it her fault that sometimes when she laid hands on a machine, plasmoid shot out of her fingers, destroying everything she touched?
I used to be a normal kid.
At that very moment, a giant robot called a Sentinel was stalking Jubilee. It was part of a special robot force from the Mutant Control Agency and had been sent to capture her. But later that evening, the robot came up empty-handed. It punched a hole through the house into Jubilee's bedroom and grabbed her bed, but she wasn't in it. Jubilee had slipped away and gone to the mall to sulk. She stopped at the video arcade to play a game, but her hurt and anger only made the plasma energy surge through her fingertips and into the arcade game. The machine exploded!
You know how much that game cost?
Yeah, 25 cents.
She left the arcade in a hurry. On the way out, Jubilee ran into a couple of shoppers, but not just any shoppers. They were the X-Men Storm and Rogue.
What's your hurry, sugar?
Out of my way!
Suddenly, a towering Sentinel crashed through the mall's glass wall.
Do not be alarmed. I am here to serve and protect.
The robot found Jubilee.
Target identified.
And snared her. It shot out a long tentacle of cable which wrapped around her and lifted her high in the air.
Initiate capture.
Put me down!
Storm and Rogue saw the whole thing and jumped in to help. Storm flew at the robot, freeing Jubilee.
Storm, mistress of the elements, commands you to release the child.
Then Rogue took over and sent the robot flying. She landed a perfect punch on its jaw. Jubilee was impressed.
Did you see that?
Rogue has a way with men.
Meanwhile, Gambit rushed to the scene. The Sentinel tried to continue its mission.
Stand aside. I must apprehend the mutant.
But Gambit had other plans. He charged his deck of playing cards with kinetic energy and fired them at the robot.
Apprehend this.
Jubilee ran, but the Sentinel gassed her. She choked and staggered, but another mutant came to her rescue. Cyclops caught her.
Oh no!
Then Cyclops took off his protective quartz glasses and looked at the robot.
Energy blast, eh? Here's one from a pro.
Its head exploded under the powerful optic blast. Waking up in a strange bed, Jubilee got up to find out where she was. She had been taken to some sort of mansion, but she didn't remember anything since the moment the Sentinel had gassed her. Looking around, she began to explore the building. She caught sight of a strange man. This was the mutant known as Beast. He was looking thoughtfully into a bubbling test tube.
It would be most disconcerting if this were to explode. Disconcerting, but provocative.
Moving on, she observed yet another mutant. This one kept changing his form. It was Morph. As he watched a politician on television, he transformed himself and assumed the shape and voice of the man he saw on the screen.
My fellow Americans, I am an idiot.
Then, two other mutants discovered she was on the loose. They sounded an alarm.
The girl! She's trying to run away!
I knew we couldn't hide the existence of the X-Men forever.
Jubilee ran into a room. Doors shut behind her. Suddenly, she was surrounded by flashing lights. A computerized voice boomed out instructions.
Initiate Wolverine Gambit training sequence.
Gambit was being attacked by a fierce clawed mutant. Jubilee knocked Gambit's assailant to the floor. She hit him from behind with plasmoids from her fingertips. Just then, the door slid open. The other X-Men stood there, laughing at the sight of a mighty Wolverine knocked flat by a gutsy teen.
Is the girl all right?
Not for long.
Jubilee looked around, confused.
What is this weird place anyway?
One part gymnasium, one part survival course, affectionately referred to as the danger room.
Storm took Jubilee up on the mansion roof and explained everything. As they walked around the lookout tower, she told Jubilee about the X-Men.
We are mutants like yourself. Professor X is our leader, and he has named us the X-Men. This is Professor Xavier's school for gifted youngsters, where we learn to control our mutant powers for the benefit of mankind.
Why do people hate us so?
People fear what they don't understand.
Later, Professor Xavier called the X-Men together. He had discovered a photograph of Jubilee stored in the computer banks of the robot they had brought back from the mall.
This photo comes from the Mutant Control Agency's ID registration files. That's how the Sentinels found her.
Cyclops was concerned.
Is the government plotting against us?
Not the government, but someone inside the government.
Meanwhile, Jubilee had sneaked home to warn her parents. She had to tell them that the Mutant Control Agency wasn't what it seemed to be. But she walked right into a Sentinel ambush. She was blasted with knockout gas.
Not again!
Jubilee fell unconscious. RetroPeter Gyrick, the head of the Mutant Control Agency himself, looked on coldly.
Mutant apprehended.
Good work.
Back at the mansion, Jean interrupted the meeting with the news that Jubilee had left.
It's Jubilee! She's gone!
But there was no time to rescue one mutant when hundreds were in danger. Professor X turned from the picture of the Mutant Control Agency headquarters on his computer monitor.
Somewhere in that building are files containing the names of hundreds of mutants innocently duped into revealing their identities.
Wolverine knew what to do with the files.
So we get 'em and we shred 'em.
The X-Men flew that very night to the headquarters of the Mutant Control Agency, where they set Professor X's plan into action. Storm whipped up a rainstorm. This would help hide them as they crossed an open field. Beast heaved Morph over the fence. Morph transformed himself into a guard. Once inside the fence, Wolverine ripped open the door like a can of sardines. Beast shut off the alarm system. He shimmied across the overhanging pipes and located the switch. Then the team set to work trashing the files. Their mission accomplished, they prepared to leave.
Cyclops, we're coming out. All the computers and files have been destroyed.
That's a Roger, Storm.
But it wasn't going to be that easy. Sure enough, armed guards were swarming everywhere. Sentinels loomed before them. Wolverine ran boldly toward one.
Hey, Tin Woodsman, I'm sending you back to Oz in pieces.
Look out, Wolverine! Behind you!
As he ran to warn Wolverine, Morph was suddenly shot from behind with a powerful energy burst from one of the Sentinels. He fell to the ground. Back at the mansion, Jean Grey stiffened and cried out. Her senses had just sent her a message. This time, her mutant powers of telepathy made her cry out in pain.
Morph is dead.
Meanwhile, outside the Mutant Control Agency, the fighting continued. Gambit disabled a Sentinel with one of his powerful cards, while Cyclops shot an optic blast at another. But the X-Men were outnumbered and driven back. Breathlessly, the retreating team stood by their jet, the Blackbird, and took stock. When last seen, Beast was snared in an electric fence, outnumbered by guards. No one was sure what had become of Morph. Cyclops wanted to play it safe.
We're risking no more lives. We're returning to the mansion.
But Wolverine had other ideas. He was heading back for Beast and Morph.
X-Men don't cut and run. X-Men stay and fight.
As Wolverine started to run, Cyclops gave the signal to Rogue. Rogue touched Wolverine on the shoulder. Wolverine slumped. He had been touched by Rogue's bare hand and affected by her mutant power. Her idea was to drain the energy out of him with her power. Just enough to stop him, but not enough to hurt him.
I go where I wanna go.
Wolverine fell to the ground, helpless.
More. Beast. I'll avenge you. I promise.
Night of the Sentinels, an X-Men adventure, published by Random House. RetroPeter Gyrick, head of the Mutant Control Agency, rushed to a secret base to interrogate the young mutant Jubilee. That very night, the X-Men had succeeded in destroying thousands of mutant registration files stored at agency headquarters. Gyrick was determined to find out who these mutants were, any way he could.
Mutant Control File number 1123, subject, Jubilee.
He had captured Jubilee, as he was sure she would lead him to the X-Men.
You can help us identify the most dangerous mutants of all.
I don't know anything. I'm just a kid.
Meanwhile, the X-Men's Blackbird jet returned home to the X-Mansion, site of Professor Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters and training ground for the young mutant X-Men.
Alas, dear friends, Morph is no longer, and Beast has been captured.
There, the X-Men learned that their colleague Morph was dead, and that fellow mutant Beast had been arrested for subversion and was in jail awaiting trial. Wolverine took the news hardest of all. Cyclops tried to help.
I know you feel badly.
You don't know nothing, little man.
Wolverine stormed out. He didn't need to listen to the feeble condolences of that goody-goody Cyclops. He needed to be alone with his pain. Angry and hurt, he left the X-Mansion and drove to a secluded spot where he could think.
I'll avenge you, friends. I swear it.
Back at the mansion, while watching the president on TV, Cyclops hatched a plan. But he would need Wolverine's help.
Last night, renegade mutants attacked the Mutant Control Agency. The attack was foiled by experimental robot policemen called Sentinels.
Wolverine was shooting pool in a local roadhouse when Cyclops finally caught up with him. He was still angry.
If you've come to apologize for leaving Beast and Morph behind, save your breath.
I don't apologize for making command decisions. But how would you like to locate the Sentinels' home base?
When and where?
That evening, the president sent for Gyrick and told him to shut down the mutant registration program. She was concerned that the program might be putting mutants in danger instead of protecting them. Gyrick hid his anger.
Those mutants were willing to sacrifice their lives. Did they have good reason to feel threatened?
Just outside the president's office, Gyrick's portable phone rang. It was Jubilee's father.
One of the mutants is here.
He still believed the Mutant Control Agency was supposed to help mutants, and he wanted to cooperate by reporting them. Cyclops was at his house. He said he was there to ask about Jubilee.
Keep him there.
Gyrick sent a Sentinel to capture the mutant. The giant robot arrived almost at once. As Cyclops left the house, a Sentinel loomed over him.
Surrender, mutant.
Of course. Not.
Cyclops removed his protective glasses and hit the robot with an optic blast from his powerful mutant eyes. The Sentinel's arm crashed onto a neighbor's lawn. Then the robot turned to fly away.
Sentinel returning to base for repairs.
Nearby, Storm monitored the robot's flight path.
I have the Sentinel on radar.
She worked the controls on the jet's flight panel and prepared to follow the robot as Cyclops had instructed. The Blackbird took off in pursuit of the wounded Sentinel. The X-Men knew the robot would lead them to its base. Cyclops' plan was working like a charm. The damaged robot crash-landed into the generator of the Sentinel base, cutting off all power. Jubilee's electromagnetic cuffs suddenly came loose. She sat up and grinned.
All right, time to blast out of this bogus joint.
And blast she did, right through the wall. She shot powerful plasmoids from her fingertips and made a hole big enough to run through. Gyrick saw her escape and ordered his robot force into action. Stop her! From out of nowhere, the robots appeared. Jubilee was surrounded by Sentinels. She sank to her knees with a groan.
Oh no! I just wanted to go home.
But there was Cyclops. Had the X-Men come to rescue her?
Jubilee, duck.
Cyclops fixed a Sentinel with a powerful optic blast and knocked its head off. The X-Men were on the scene. Gambit charged in and swung down to rescue Jubilee.
Did you miss me, Petit?
Oh.
Storm lured one Sentinel high up into the clouds, then zapped him back to Earth with a lightning bolt. Another Sentinel pounded Rogue into the floor, but her mutant powers protected her, and she wasn't hurt at all. She shook her head and got up.
Y'all ought to learn how to behave.
And promptly hammered that robot into scrap metal. She hurled its ruined metal shell through the air with her awesome strength. Wolverine leaped onto the back of the last Sentinel and clawed his way upward until he reached its neck. With a mighty cry, he plunged his adamantium claws into its neck.
This one's for you, Morph!
The Sentinel collapsed under Wolverine with a loud crash. Ruined Sentinels lay everywhere. Gyrick had fled. The X-Men had succeeded.
Is this all of them?
Yeah.
Ain't that enough?
It was time for Jubilee to say goodbye to her foster parents. She knew now that Professor X's School for Gifted Youngsters was the best place for her. There she would take her rightful place with the other X-Men and learn how to use her mutant powers for the benefit of mankind. Her parents were sorry to see her go, but they understood.
You will come back and visit?
Does a mall baby eat chili fries?
With a tear in her eye, Jubilee waved goodbye to her old life. Her future as one of the X-Men lay ahead. For more exciting action, be sure to check out Enter the X-Men, a book and audio cassette adventure available only from Random House.